You can walk around here and take photographs of wild turkeys and the outside and the barn and everything as much as you want. This is part of the Arrowhead Hill estate. Terry, you're going to introduce our hostess, and he's going to tell you about Stillwell and this estate. I've got a few people coming in here.
Come on, Bobby, you're holding up the parade.
Jennie,
Yeah.
what was the significance of the cemetery you were just at? Is there anybody noteworthy there?
I went through that. You missed it.
I must say.
We've got Union soldiers, Confederate soldiers, we've got a sheriff, we've got Charles Greer, who was one of the first settlers, and the Drake family, who were very early settlers in Hendersonville.
When did the Drake family show up?
Early 1800s, because I've got them here 1810, I believe. Okay. So Terry Ruskin's going to introduce you to our lovely hostess and tell you about this estate and Earl Stillwell.
One of the reasons we're here is because of Earl Stillwell's having designed the dwellings on this property, and also because of the significant part of our history here that involves foreigners. You know, people from Florida and Louisiana and South Carolina and elsewhere, such as at Osceola, you know, there were a lot of Floridians and a lot of New York influence and whatnot. Well, back in 1918, William Boyard Gillikin was delighted with this property. This once belonged to the Hankels of Charleston. There was a mill here. The property ran all the way up to what is now the Canoga Conferences, which was George Stevens' Canoga Club. And I'm not going to talk about that because that's all in the book anyway, and we don't have enough time
And
for
I've got
that.
it on the website, some on Canoga too.
And grist. Now there was a sawmill too, of course, when Stevens was building, having Richard Sharp Smith designed all that furniture and the buildings and everything up there. But anyway, Earl Stillwell, I'm sure that most of you, if not all of you, know who he is, and if you don't, you should. Prominent American architect, did tremendous amount of work here in the Southeast. He specialized in movie theaters, and there is a book actually on Stillwell architecture that was produced locally and paid for by the Friends of the Henderson County Library. It's a beautiful big book, has a lot of Stillwell's work in it, not just residences but commercial, including the theaters and whatnot. He was huge in terms of his wonderful design and his popularity. The Gillikins were very taken with his work. You know, he designed our city hall and a number of residences through town and some of the historic buildings that stand on Main Street. The Gillikins hired him to design what they named Arrowhead Hill. Perhaps you notice a sign over there that says Arrowhead Farm. That was changed later. This property was called Arrowhead Hill because of all the Native American artifacts that were found in this area when they were excavating for the purpose of building and putting in terracing and gardens and whatnot. And Gillikin was known as the Turpentine King. He had cornered the market on turpentine in this country. They were from New Orleans, but he also owned hundreds of acres of Gulf Coast land in Florida with pine forests. They were horrendously wealthy. They wanted a summer place here in the mountains, and they had about a 7,500 square foot, it's over 10,000 now. It's been added on to, it's been ruined. We don't have permission to go up there. The driveway is almost a mile long. It's all the way to the top of this hill. You wouldn't want to see it anyway. It breaks my heart what they've done to it. Not just the current owner, but a few owners before him. The Gillikins had it designed, they wanted a cool mountain retreat. So Stillwell thoughtfully designed not only a beautiful Tudor, oversized Tudor home with open sleeping porches on it, which have all been enclosed now, but interior rock walls, and not this Lannon stone stuff that you get at Lowe's. I'm talking native stone from the grounds here. Big open fireplaces, vaulted ceilings, beautiful place. There is a picture of the exterior that shows its Tudor personality in this book, and I got it from the owners after, the two owners after the original people. And they had already, the second owner had already, what the granddaughter of Gillikin and I consider ruined it. But anyway, Stillwell also designed the agrarian architecture here and this gatehouse. This housed the gatekeeper and the servants for the property. They had their own, they were self-sustaining basically when they were here late spring through late fall. They had an orchard, they had formal gardens, they had vegetable gardens, they had a greenhouse where they grow their own flowers for the settings in their lobby and their dining table. A lot of entertainment went on here. A lot of drinking and parties. That's where all those people from Charleston and Louisiana. This was one of the places where they would congregate and have these formal suppers and whatnot. Unlike the house, which has been ruined, and I'm a historical purist, so I'm very fussy about things like that. This, the paint, the stucco, the roof tiles have been replaced. He put a tin roof on that. It's currently owned by Hassan Abdullah Mansour.
Now get started, Terry. Go on.
Who also bought the historic Farmer Hotel / Woodland, Woodfield Inn.
Out
I pray for it. You will see the woodwork inside is what's still well designed. Now some of the flooring has been covered over with vinyl, but a lot of the original flooring is still intact. A lot of the woodwork, the frames are on the windows and the doors. A lot of people would look at it and say, oh, let's just replace that. It has not been, or at least a scrape and paint. It has not been. You're going to look at original colors, and it's a beautiful residence. I mean, it was servants' quarters and a gatekeeper's place. Zolly Prince, by the way, was a local man who was one of the servants. He headed up the servants here for the Gillikins. And when they sold to the Smoots of Louisiana and Panama City, he's the one that first started ruining the mansion. The Gillikins were very kind people. They bought Mr. Prince, their servant, a home out on the Crab Creek to make sure and provided for him for the rest of his life. So let's go inside.
What was the original roof you said that had been replaced?
It was actually cedar shake, and they had a shake roof up there too, but it's now tin. There was asbestos in between, the sand tile and whatnot. Anyway, well, let's go
No
inside.
photographing inside.
Our hostess has requested no indoor photography, but feel free to take all that you want outdoors.
Who is she?
Is she French? Share your name. I've met her once. She speaks 6 languages. Oh my God.